well, welcome back to another episode of Very Selfish Women. I'm Lisa Russell, this is Alana Sukut, and this is Sierra Gertzen, and we are a team of three, and we work with women, we coach women to help them get from a place of self-loathing, self-hatred, self-sabotage, over to a place of self-love and self-respect and self-confidence. And we do that through self-care. And that's why we're called the Very Selfish Women. So there's our little explanation of who we are. And it is a special week, you guys. It really is. This is the very last week of 2021, which means we are headed into New Year's this weekend. And what I want to talk about today is New Year's resolutions. I want to know what you guys think about New Year's resolutions. Are they a good idea? Are they a bad idea?
Terrible.
Terrible ideas? Do you think so, really? Oh,
Kind of actually.
Tell me.
I don't know. Have you guys ever made a New Year's resolution?
Yep.
okay.
What was it?
How did it go?
It didn't go.
Okay, so would you tell us a little bit about what New Year's resolution did you make and why didn't it go well?
Well, I mean, I think I've made a couple over the years, like anybody. Oh, I'm going to eat even better this year. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to run a half marathon, whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we set these big goals. And when you set a goal that big, it's hard to attain it. You have to set small goals along the way
Okay.
to be able to kind of get to that, where you're like, okay, I'm just going to run a half marathon. You're just going to gear up and you're just going to run every single day. That's not very smart.
And it works well until January 20th or
Exactly.
something, right? Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
And so I think just maybe not just, it's not that you can't have big goals, but figuring out the stepping stones to get to those big goals, and not necessarily a New Year's resolution. If you want to do something, you can start at any time.
Right. That's a good point. What do you think? You said terrible idea.
Well, and going back to that, I mean, I think because when you set something up for an entire year, as soon as you feel like you did not attain some step of it, it's like just downhill from there, and then you just kind of give up on it basically. So I think that's one of the biggest things and why people don't usually, reach their New Year's resolutions and that. But for me, I like good intentions, I guess, more than resolutions of, like you said, like I want to eat healthier, I want to have more vegetables and things like that. But yeah, I think if you have something that's very lofty and in stone, if you don't stay on that trajectory, which most humans don't, you're going to lose motivation somewhere.
Mm-hmm. I read an article just a week or so ago that said that of all the New Year's resolutions, only about 10% of those goals are actually met. So, and I hear both of you saying that you think that New Year's resolutions can actually set you up for failure instead of setting yourself up for success. So I actually am a big fan of New Year's resolutions. However, I have a little different take on them. So for myself, I am very interested in adding things into my life rather than saying this year I'm going to cut out sugar because that's not even funny. It's not doable. It's not attainable for the long term. But instead, just in the month of December, I've really worked hard to add in an extra serving of vegetables every day in my life, and this is a big deal for me. So I think really focusing on the behavior, not that the goal isn't important,
Right.
but like you said, what habits do you want to build that will lead to the goal? If it's running half marathon, which I don't think that's a goal of yours, whatever it might be, that you have to figure out, like you said, the stepping stones or the small goals that will lead up to it. And I know Alana and I talk a lot about this with our clients that are on our nutrition program, that consistency is key. It's the number one most important thing to accomplishing really a healthier lifestyle, is being consistent on a regular daily basis. So putting together a plan for yourself on how you're going to accomplish those goals, and then, like you said, not making them so lofty and vague. I have a big problem with New Year's resolutions that are so vague without any idea of how you're going to accomplish it. A lot of times we hear from women, this is my year, I'm going to lose 50 pounds. And that's a great idea, but without a concrete plan behind it, it will set you up for for failure because you might try this diet or you might try that diet, but that's not sustainable. So having habits, developing habits that you can keep lifelong, that are attainable, small steps that lead to really big results.
Realistic, most importantly,
Mm-hmm.
I'd say is, 50 pounds, great, but maybe start with like 10 or 25 or, being under 200, whatever it is that, you're kind of working towards. And then, it's not like anyone's keeping tabs on these resolutions, obviously. And so, you can increase it as time goes on. But if you, give yourself things that that is something that you feel like you can achieve at this place, then you're much more likely to stay motivated and continue going for them. But good for you for cutting it out in December. That's impressive. Or adding it in.
Adding it in,
Cutting out less sugar, more vegetables.
Yeah.
Because I feel like in January, like more of the resolution part, I feel like with New Year's is that December's so crazy that January is just a good time where things typically settle down and you can say like, if I make it to this mark, then that is when, everything is behind you and you feel like you can, there's clear runnings ahead and can accomplish it.
Right. I think sometimes after the holidays, you feel sluggish because, first of all, you may not have been as active as you usually are. And there's goodies, there's cheese, there's all the things that can just, it's all about the cheese. And so January can be a time of a fresh start. And I do like the idea of a fresh start and of starting new habits, deciding what habits you want to add into your life. For me, I feel like making a huge overhaul in my life is not something that's going to work. I am really into small steps. And for some people, adding an extra vegetable in every day might not be a big deal, especially, I know how you and Eric eat. You really eat really well. Oh, I'm not even talking to you because I know. But for me, now I will admit, my husband's not into eating extra vegetables every day, but that's his road. My road is, and I'm telling you, my friends, I ate Brussels sprouts in December. First time really in my adult life that I ever ate them and enjoyed them. It was great, but that is kind of a big deal. So, what do you think?
Well, I was gonna say, one thing that I like to do is not so much a New Year's resolution, but is to pick a word for your year.
Oh,
And I don't think I've ever talked to you guys about this, but I usually pick a word.
okay.
So whatever it might be, and you kind of list out like what your goals might be, kind of what you want to do that year, and what word's going to help you attain that. So say you want to lose weight, you want to eat healthy, all these things. Your word could be balance, and just remind yourself of that word. So balance, okay? When you're eating, when you're exercising, what's a balance? What can I make, how this works into my life? And that's kind of a way to help you. It's kind of a word to kind of like keep you on track, but a little bit nicer so you're not so hard on yourself about it.
Right. I sometimes think that New Year's resolutions, people are actually subconsciously, they're punishing themselves of saying, this last year I was bad, I was this, I gained 30 pounds. So this year I'm going to be good. And you're right, having that balance and moderation in there is really important because I think a lot of times we tend to go, our pendulum swings all the way over here. And now I'm like, so we have to find this place where we are moderated.
Yeah.
I love that.
I never thought about it that way. Your New Year's resolutions are all of your failures you felt from the year before.
Yeah.
That's great.
And that's why
It's a bad way to think into your new year.
Well, I've heard you say this before that, taking a look back on your year, you weren't bad. It wasn't that you were, well, unless you're a horrible person, like you said, which I don't think most of us are, but it's really more about, adding some challenges in and some hopes for yourself, but allowing yourself failures is part of life and learning from them and moving on rather than beating yourself up all the time. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we work on with clients is helping people to see it in a different light rather than being mad at yourself all the time, because we live in this state where we're mad at ourselves for all the things we're doing that we know we shouldn't, and yet we're mad at ourselves for not doing all the things that we know we should. And so you have to get rid of that mindset and really kind of come up with a self-care plan for yourself that includes things that you love. and being able to have a cookie if you want a cookie without cookies being evil. They're not. And without, you don't have to run 6 days a week in order to get good exercise. So finding that balance, I love that.
Yeah.
What, may I ask, what was your word in 2021?
My word in 2021 was risk.
Oh,
I know.
risk.
And just because I know a lot of you don't know this, but I am a pretty shy person if I don't know you. And so just taking more risks on like going out, doing more stuff with our friends, and I know COVID, so not quite.
Yeah.
But just kind of being more risky and things like that, and just, I don't know, maybe taking more adventures or doing things that I wouldn't have in the past. But
I love
cool.
that.
That is a fun idea.
Oh,
I just thought of like really funny words when you said that. I was just all like,
Did you really?
my word would be humorous for. But no, the other thing I thought was I saw something on Instagram or something. My other addiction, and it was about taking don't let unnecessary things take your inner peace. And I was like, maybe that'll be my phrase for 22 is. Controlling your inner peace, not letting other things affect you, which is, I think, good in general, but to be more mindful and purposeful of it and letting things not perhaps eat at me as they have been recently.
Well, and that can happen. I don't know if you know, well, you probably know this because we've spent a lot of time together. Well, all of us have spent a lot of time together, but my entire life motto since I went on a wellness journey, lost my weight, and I'm trying to live a more balanced and moderate lifestyle, my whole motto is inner peace and outward joy, because I think being joyful it's so important, and so much of our lives are spent, like I said, beating ourselves up and not being happy. And what does that look like? And so I think having that inner peace and coming to terms with yourself and looking yourself straight in the face and saying, I like what I see. And if you don't like the things that you see, and I'm not talking about my stretch marks, that you have the power to make those changes. And the changes come in small little increments rather than, I think, a big overhaul.
Yeah. And knowing that there are no failures, as long as you're learning from them, they're learning steps. Like everyone in life has to, hit some walls, right? Fall down a couple of times, and then you learn from it and you move forward and you're better for it.
I think so too.
I read an article this week that talked about savor your successes from the past year. So like go through your past year, look at your successes, look at maybe your missed opportunities or what you consider a failure, but kind of acknowledge what they were and decide, okay, so now with the new year, what am I going to do with that? So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but just to kind of set yourself up for what you want this next year.
I think that's really good. So having a sort of some hopes and dreams for yourself and a plan on how to get there. And it could look different for every single person. That's for sure. I made a resolution for myself this year, and it's not about vegetables, and it's very concrete that I have decided that my 2020 and 2021, my husband and I, we didn't do a lot of socializing with our friends, with everything happening in the world. And so I sat down with Dawn just a couple weeks ago and I said, all right, we need to plan to have like game night at our house and invite people over and go out for a beer or whatever, because it seems like we've been turtled in for a couple of years. So just getting out and doing some things, some fun things.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Anyone? Are either of you guys making a resolution?
No, I am. I haven't picked my word yet for this year.
Okay.
But I will say at the beginning of every year, I get a new planner because
Oh, yes.
I'm a freak. But I just like starting the new year with like such structure and organization. And it really does help me stay organized throughout the year. And we're busy people. So I like seeing everything we're doing, but also it's just kind of my way to like get back on track and have all the things there that I can see. And
I do a planner as well, every single month and every week, but mine is not color coded. You rock with your planner. It's amazing. It's just beautiful. Mine's more. It's just not as long. But that's great. Do you have anything to add?
Nope.
Okay. Well, we'd always love to hear from you, and I guess from the Very Selfish Women, Happy New Year.
yes, Happy New Year.